When Elena faked illness again and called Gabriel away, our daughter tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, the teacher said parents need to sign these." He was in a rush, so he signed the whole stack of papers without even looking, which is why he didn't notice that tucked in between them was the divorce agreement. From that moment on, I stopped caring about where Gabriel went or what he did for Elena. I even went so far as to like the social media post of their secretly taken wedding photos. For the first time, I interrupted Gabriel's explanation and calmly wiped the lipstick stain off his collar. Gabriel froze, with a thin layer of anger in his voice. "You're not mad?" "Why would I be mad? As soon as the 30-day divorce cooling-off period ends, I'll be free." Chapter 1. Gabriel was putting on his shoes while reminding me. "Babe, I'm heading out. I'll be back late. Don't wait up." Go ahead." I cut him off lightly and got up to clear the dishes into the kitchen. Gabriel paused mid-motion. "You're mad?" "No, it's just going to rain tonight. Take an umbrella." I was being so considerate. It somehow pissed him off even more. What's with the passive-aggressive tone? Elena's asthma isn't something new, you know that. If I'm not there when she falls asleep and she wakes up unable to find her meds, what then? "You're right, so go." I lowered my gaze, wrung out the warm towel in my hand, and didn't look at him again. "She's sick, Laura. Can't you be more understanding?" Gabriel's voice trailed off as he saw the towel in my hands. "She's sick. And what? Emma isn't sick? Her fever just went down, and I've been staying by her side day and night. Where were you then? Why didn't you show up to say she's a patient too?" Talking about our daughter, I couldn't hold back a jab at Gabriel. Maybe he felt guilty. Gabriel opened his mouth, but didn't say anything. I walked around him, heading toward Emma's room. "Keep your voice down when you leave. Don't wake her." Gabriel said nothing. He just silently watched me wipe down Emma. After a while, he spoke in a low voice. "You and Emma both love osmanthus cake, right? I'll get some when I come back early tonight." I didn't respond. Gabriel stood outside the door in silence. He stood there so long. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd stay with me and Emma tonight. Then the phone rang. I heard soft sobs from the hallway. Gabriel sighed and left in the end. The osmanthus cake was sold in the south part of the city, far from home. Back when we were dating, he used to line up before dawn and rush over to deliver it to my dorm before class. But now, even if Emma begged, he'd just press his fingers to his temple, exhausted and impatient. "Daddy's really tired. Next time, okay?" My thoughts drifted far away as I stared out the window in silence. It's been so long since I last had osmanthus cake. I should be happy, but this time, neither the cake nor Gabriel was something I wanted anymore. In 7 days, I'll finally be free. Chapter 2. The first time Gabriel attended a parent-teacher conference for Emma was also the day Elena's wedding date was set. Amidst the bustle of the school campus, Elena called him, crying, "Gabriel, I feel so anxious. Maybe I shouldn't get married. I can't breathe. Can you come and stay with me for a bit?" Gabriel suddenly stopped in his tracks. Still holding Emma's hand, he lowered his voice to comfort her over the phone, then looked apologetically at Emma as he let go of her hand. "Sorry, Emma, something urgent just came up. How about mommy attends the meeting with you instead?" Emma stayed quiet, her expression as obedient as always. Only, the light in her eyes slowly dimmed. Gabriel gently patted her head in an attempt to soothe her, but as he turned to leave, Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, can you sign this for me?" Emma pulled a neatly bound stack of test papers from her backpack and handed him a pen. Every single one was a perfect score. Gabriel paused, clearly impressed, and praised her generously. "Our Emma is amazing, a real top student." Then he coaxed her again. "Be good. Isn't mommy here? Let her sign for you, okay?" Emma lowered her eyes, long lashes trembling. Her voice was steady, emotionless. "My classmates said, no matter how high I score, I'm still just a fatherless stray. As long as you sign." On the other end of the call, Elena was still crying, but Gabriel suddenly crouched down and hugged Emma tightly in his arms. 10 test papers, he signed them all in 30 seconds. Swift and firm, so swift that he didn't even notice the divorce agreement tucked in between them. When he was done signing, Gabriel kissed Emma on the forehead. Next time, Daddy will definitely come to your conference. Let's see who still dares to pick on our Emma. Emma forced a smile, just like she did the first time she ever heard him make a promise. As I watched his figure disappear into the distance, I whispered softly, Gabriel, your chances are gone. Gone for good. Chapter 3. Gabriel didn't come home after he left yesterday. I was sorting through all the couple's items I was planning to throw out. Feeling nothing. Same old story. Ever since Elena's wedding was planned, one phone call from her was enough to make Gabriel leave. No matter the time. It's not like I never protested. But Gabriel would just look at me, disappointed. Eyes filled with cold mockery. Laura, if there was really something going on between me and Elena, would I have married you? Tears welled up instantly. I opened my mouth, but couldn't get a word out. Only a stabbing pain in my chest. After that day, we didn't speak for a long time. Eventually, it was Elena who pushed Gabriel to come to my door and apologize. I didn't want to forgive him, but I couldn't bear to see Emma caught in the middle, trying so hard to keep peace between us. What I didn't expect was that my small step back would only make him push further. There are some things I will never forget. It rained on my birthday. Gabriel left me waiting at the restaurant for 2 hours to help Elena look for her lost cat. Another time, on my way to the hospital, doubled over in pain from cramps so bad I could barely stand. He left me at the subway entrance because Elena said she was scared to change a light bulb. It's on the way anyway, he said, lightly, and the scarf I spent 2 months learning to knit, the one I gave him, showed up on Elena the very next day. One thing after another, burned into memory, and this time was no different. I held my phone, quietly waiting for Elena to post something to her feed. Sure enough, not long after, she uploaded a photo. She was dressed in a pristine white wedding gown, clinging sweetly to the man beside her. Caption, wearing the gown he gave me, guess I've married him in a way. The man's face wasn't shown, but after sharing a bed with someone for years, how could I not recognize that silhouette? I stared at the photo for a long time, then gave it the very first like I'd ever given her. A minute later, Elena deleted the post. Gabriel's message came through almost immediately. Babe, don't get the wrong idea. I was just modeling the tux for Elena. She said she wanted to see how it looked on someone. I looked at the pathetic excuse and let out a small laugh. In the past, I would have snapped back without hesitation. What? Her groom's missing so you had to play dress up? But now, I simply typed, okay. While I was putting Emma to sleep, Gabriel came home. His hair was still stiff with mousse, makeup unremoved. He looked like he just rushed back after changing out of a groom's suit. Seeing I was still awake, his face lit up. You were waiting for me? Sorry, babe, today. Elena's fiancé was out of town, so I went with her to try on dresses. I just helped her decide on one and took a quick photo. That's all. He rushed through the explanation, like he was terrified I'd get the wrong idea. I cut him off with a soft got it. Gabriel froze, seeing I had no reaction. He turned to leave, but then stepped back and grabbed my hand. A chill came with his touch, faintly scented with pastries. That's when I noticed the box of osmanthus cake in his arms. It was snowing outside. Frost clung to his hair, to his lashes. He looked like a pale ice sculpture. Only the cake in his arms radiated any warmth. I queued for it today. It's still warm. He opened the box, looking straight at me. I took it in silence and set it casually on the table. Thanks. Is that all you have to say? Gabriel's grip tightened, his eyes darkening with irritation. Only then did I notice the lipstick on his collar. Bright, obnoxious, unmistakable. I reached out, wiped it off calmly. Your shirt's dirty. Gabriel stiffened, the warmth draining from his face. His grip on my wrist was painful, but he didn't seem to notice. He stared at me, voice cold and trembling with anger. You're not mad? I met his gaze, steady, and pulled my hand free. If there's nothing else, I'll go rest. Gabriel suddenly exploded, slamming me against the wall. Laura, even if you're trying to play hard to get, there should be a limit. This is all just to get my attention, right? Well, congrats, you got it. And with that, he lunged forward, planting kisses across my face and neck, fueled by fury. I froze, my mind going blank. Then, as I saw the bold red lipstick again, disgust rose like bile. I covered my mouth, struggling to break free. But men are stronger no matter how hard I fought. Gabriel held me in place. Eventually, I stopped resisting. I slumped against the wall, tears falling uncontrollably. Gabriel paused, looking at my tears. He grew restless, panicked. Even, there was fear in his eyes. Real fear. He leaned close to my neck, voice low and hoarse. Laura, don't be like this. Don't be like what? I was the one pinned down. I was the one being forced. What was he afraid of? The phone rang. It was Elena. Gabriel stared at me as he answered. She was crying again, breathless and saying she was scared. Gabriel didn't look away from me, his tone firm but pleading. Tell me to stay, Laura. If you say the word, I said, go. I looked away and gently cut him off. Don't keep her waiting. Gabriel stared at me, then suddenly laughed. Voice harsh. Fine, Laura. Real impressive. He threw the cake on the floor and left without looking back. The delicate pastries shattered, pieces everywhere. I stared at the crumbs, exhaustion washing over me. He forgot I used to beg him to stay. All I ever got in return were accusations, immature, overreacting, cold-hearted. This time, I was done. I wouldn't beg anymore. Now, I was everything he asked for: understanding, gracious, kind. So why was he the one who was upset? Chapter 4. Mom. Mommy, Emma's weak voice suddenly called out. The moment I rushed into the bedroom, my pupils contracted sharply. Emma's face was turning blue, her breathing rapid, her entire body starting to convulse. She called out for me unconsciously. With trembling hands, I scooped her up, my mind a blank. Emma, what's wrong? Please don't scare Mommy. Don't scare Mommy. Panic gripped me as I reached out to touch her burning forehead. She's burning up again. We need to go to the hospital. In a frenzy, I fumbled for my phone and called Gabriel, my voice already tinged with sobs. Pick up. Gabriel, pick up. Please. I called 5 times in a row. He was on another call each time. Then I opened WeChat and began frantically sending him messages. Pick up your phone. Emma's having a febrile seizure. Come back and take her to the hospital. Emma can't wait. Please. Come back now. Finally, Gabriel replied with a voice message, tone cold and indifferent. Drop the act. Laura, playing hard to get gets boring when you overdo it. So that's what he thought. That all of this was just another manipulative stunt of mine. My phone slipped from my hand, shattering on the ground along with the last of my hope. A deep chill settled in my chest. I held Emma tightly in my arms. Every emotion in me was replaced by a terrifying calm. Wiping my tears, I dialed 911. By the time I heard the wail of the ambulance sirens, Emma had already lost consciousness. Barefoot, I ran down the stairs, only to step on broken beer bottle glass. Bright red footprints trailed all the way to the ER. Outside the emergency room, the delayed pain finally caught up with me, nearly making me collapse. Time stretched endlessly as I waited, long enough for even the pain in my feet to go numb. Then a message pulled me back to the moment. It was from Elena. Her voice was soft as always, with a hint of coyness. Laura, hope you don't mind if I borrow Gabriel for 2 days? It's my fault. Really. I told him I was feeling super anxious before the wedding, and he offered to take me on a short trip. We might not be back right away. Sorry, you'll have to take care of Emma on your own. At the end of the message, I could hear Gabriel's impatient grunt. Why are you even explaining this to her? I clenched the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white, looking up at the blinding ER lights. I bit back the tears stinging my eyes. Just as I was about to power off my phone, it rang again. It was Roxana, my boss. Laura, I've managed to secure you a spot in the company's housing program, plus school placement for Emma. And I heard there's a specialist at the northern branch who deals with your daughter's condition. Are you sure you don't want to come work with us in North City? I won't lie, it'll be tough. But the future, I'll go. I cut her off. What? Roxana sounded surprised. I took a deep breath, my voice hoarse. I'll go with you to South District. Roxana was overjoyed, saying great 3 times in a row. After thanking her, I rushed home to pack. The house was empty. I opened Elena's social feed. She had checked into a hotel out of town. Perfect. Just 5 days left. By the time they return, the divorce cooling-off period will be over. I looked up at the house we'd shared for 10 years. So many memories, big and small. After a month of sorting things little by little, there wasn't much left to bring. As I closed the door, I took one last look at the wedding photo in the living room and tossed it into the trash. I couldn't describe how I felt as I mailed out the divorce agreement. At the airport security gate, as I watched the crowds come and go, I let out a long breath and boarded the flight to North City. Then a message popped up from my best friend Diana. Laura, major news. Elena never planned on getting married. All those people were just hired to trick you. My eyes flew open, hand gripping the armrest tight. So it was all a performance. Scripted, directed, starring only her. The motive couldn't be more obvious. But now, none of it mattered anymore. I slowly relaxed my hand and looked out at the ocean of clouds beyond the window. Whatever happens between the two of them, I don't care. Not anymore. Chapter 5. Laura was a little too quiet this time. Gabriel stood outside the fitting room, flipping through his phone anxiously. Usually, whenever he was out with Elena, Laura would bombard him with calls and messages, so many it drove him insane. But this time, not a single message. She'd said Emma had a febrile seizure, but he'd seen her lull Emma to sleep with his own eyes. How could she be burning up again? She must be playing games again. He admitted this little performance of hers had shaken him a bit, but she had to realize his patience had limits. He'd already given her a chance. Gabriel's eyes lingered on Laura's last 3 messages. But what if, just what if this time it was real? What if something really had happened to Emma? Before he could think any further, someone suddenly covered his eyes. Gabriel, you're going to love this surprise. Elena gently led him forward, her hands still over his eyes. Fireworks exploded overhead, and when he opened his eyes, there stood Elena in a wedding gown. The dress sparkled with rhinestones. Her face was full of sweetness as she held out a document. Gabriel, I'm so happy. We can finally be together, openly, officially. Gabriel's heart clenched. A cold unease crept up his spine. Gabriel, Laura already signed the smack. Elena's voice stopped mid-sentence. Gabriel snatched the divorce papers from her hands. No way. He couldn't believe it. He clenched the thin stack of papers, veins bulging in his hands. But, your signature's right here, Elena whispered. Gabriel froze. His mind flashed back to that day, Emma handing him those test papers. Rage surged through him like wildfire. Laura, she had the nerve to trick him like this? Wasn't she always trying to stir up drama just to win his attention? Wasn't she constantly trying to compete with Elena in his heart? Fine. If that's what she wanted, then so be it. He suddenly ripped the divorce papers to shreds and stormed out. Elena grabbed his arm in panic. Gabriel, where are you going? He yanked his hand free, not even looking back. To find my wife. Elena called out after him, voice shrill. She wants to divorce you. What kind of wife is that? Gabriel, look at me. I'm still wearing the wedding dress you picked out for me. Don't you want to marry me? Gabriel came to an abrupt stop. He turned, face cold and unreadable. That was just your own fantasy. I've only ever seen you as an older sister. Elena refused to believe it. Then why were you so good to me? Why did we take wedding photos together? Why did you come with me to the hotel? You mean to tell me you don't have any feelings for me? Tears streamed down her face like petals in the rain. But Gabriel was stunned still. He thought he had a clear conscience. He hadn't crossed any real lines with Elena. That lipstick mark, it must have just rubbed off when they were changing clothes. But if even Elena misunderstood, then what about Laura? How much pain must she have been in? For the first time, a pang of regret twisted in Gabriel's gut. He quickened his pace. Behind him, Elena lifted her gown and ran after him, crying, Gabriel, come back, Gabriel. Gabriel! But he didn't stop, and he didn't have time to question why Elena would stage a fake wedding to trick him. All he could think about was getting to North City, getting Laura back, making her see the truth, that she was his wife, and always would be. When Gabriel called, Emma had just entered the operating room. I glanced at the screen and hung up, but he kept calling again and again. Roxana was sitting beside me. She already knew what had happened. When she saw Gabriel's name flashing across my screen, she rolled her eyes. Girl, I swear, don't you dare go soft. Men like that? They'll do anything to trick you into going back. You hear me? Don't fall for it. I smiled faintly and powered off my phone. Don't worry, I won't. Roxana turned her gaze back to the hors d'oeuvres, frowning a little. I heard the specialist just came back from overseas. Super hard to book. I was about to pull some strings, but the moment they heard your name, they agreed to take the case. Do you know someone here? I blinked in confusion. Didn't you arrange it? Roxana looked puzzled too, but the mystery didn't last long. The doors to the operating room opened. A man in a white coat stepped out, composed and calm. He extended a hand toward me. It's been a long time, Laura. I looked at his eyes, at the familiar lines of his face. For a second, it felt like I was dreaming. I reached out my hand. It's been a long time. Jack. Chapter 6. Jack was the son of my high school Chinese teacher, and also my ex-boyfriend. He had always been that kind of person, the golden boy, born under a lucky star. Like every middle-aged teacher, my Chinese teacher loved talking about her child in class, about how mature he was, how brilliant, how proud she was of him. Some bold girl once teased, "Teacher, is he handsome?" The others laughed. You seriously don't know? That's Jack, senior in class 3. Before they even finished, the girl's face had turned red. Jack. I twirled my pen, thinking not of the worn-out photo of him on the honor roll, but the score under his name, blindingly perfect. Later, we ended up at the same university. To my surprise, he remembered me too. Laura from class 1, the cheat code student, right? My mom talks about you all the time. I was a little flattered, but not entirely shocked. After all, I'd always been one of those so-called model students parents love to brag about. People who shine are often drawn to each other. Naturally, we got together. He was everything you'd expect, gentle, well-mannered, never crossed any boundaries. That sense of restraint made me feel safe, but also distant. To others, we were the perfect campus couple. Everyone said he adored me, but I never felt it. Like magma beneath a sheet of ice. No matter how intense the love, he never said out loud. All I could feel was that cold surface above. Then he left to study abroad, and the ice finally cracked. We were both smart. No need to say it out loud. So, even our breakup was clean and graceful. Later, I met Gabriel, and Jack and I never contacted each other again. We went our separate ways for years. I never thought we'd meet again like this. Outside the hospital room, I tried to collect myself, but all I managed to say was dry and awkward. Thanks. Jack gave a faint smile. No need. Just doing my job. I looked at Emma lying in bed, my worry rising. My daughter, don't worry. The surgery was a success. As long as she rests and recovers, she'll be fine. That's a relief. The heavy weight in my chest finally eased. I let out a long, shaky breath. Thank you, you really helped me. If you ever have time, can I treat you to a meal? Jack hesitated for a moment. I instantly felt embarrassed and added, "It's fine if not, you're probably really busy." Jack smiled again. "I'm not. I've got time." Before I could say anything else, a cold, angry voice cut in. "So this is why you're so eager to divorce me. You've already found someone new." I turned. Gabriel stood nearby, expression dark as ever. "And you are?" Jack asked, tilting his head. "My ex-husband," I replied, completely unfazed. Gabriel's hands clenched at his sides, face clouded in rage. "Laura, I haven't even agreed to the divorce yet." Ignoring him, I turned toward Emma's room, but Gabriel grabbed my arm. "Laura, come home with me right now. I'll pretend none of this ever happened." I frowned. "Let go." Gabriel acted like he didn't hear me and continued. "I admit I neglected you before, but it's only because Elena was sick. She tricked me. I promise, this won't happen again. Are you done?" I said quietly, then let go. I looked him straight in the eye. "Laura." "Hey, ex-husband," Jack said with a smile, gripping Gabriel's wrist and pulling him away. his tone gentle but with unmistakable authority. Something about those two words, ex-husband, snapped a nerve in Gabriel. He glared at Jack, eyes bloodshot. Who the hell do you think you are? Laura's my goddamn wife. Jack looked down at him, calm and cold. Gabriel's height, 6 feet 1 inch, was impressive to most. But Jack stood even taller. When he stared someone down, he was like a looming mountain, unshakable, imposing. Gabriel's shouting was drawing stares from nearby. I felt a mix of embarrassment and anger. Quickly turning to Jack, sorry for the trouble. Jack's expression softened. It's fine, he said gently. Laura, your man isn't even dead yet, and you're already cozying up to another guy? Smack. I turned and slapped Gabriel hard across the face. Gabriel, if you have even a shred of decency left, go see your daughter, who just had surgery, instead of throwing a tantrum in a hospital hallway. And what right do you have to accuse me? Did you already forget about your precious Elena? Gabriel froze, Adam's apple bobbing in his throat. I didn't look at him again. I turned to Jack, whispered a soft sorry, and stepped into the hospital room. Chapter 7. Gabriel followed me into the room. The moment he saw Emma lying in the hospital bed, regret flooded his eyes. He opened his mouth, trying to speak, but finally only muttered hoarsely, I'm sorry. You thought I used Emma to trick you into coming back? I finished the sentence for him with a cold laugh. Gabriel parted his lips again but only lowered his head and repeated a quiet, I'm sorry. The room fell into dead silence. He stood behind me as I gently pulled up the blanket to cover Emma. After a pause, he said, I really only saw Elena as a sister. That lipstick mark, it was an accident. We were changing clothes and it just got on me. And going out of town with her, it was because you made me so angry that day. I just lost control. Got it. I cut him off lightly. Gabriel froze and frowned. Laura, I've explained everything to you. What's with the passive-aggressive act now? I replied flatly, tone even. You should have received the divorce papers. The Civil Affairs Office opens Friday. Let's go and make it official. Gabriel's temper ignited instantly. Laura, I'm warning you, don't push it. Once Emma wakes up, we're going back to Yunqing. I'll pretend I never saw that damn agreement. When I didn't respond, he softened his tone. Laura, I know I screwed up, but you can't just give me a death sentence over one mistake. Let's not get divorced, okay? You know I love you and Emma more than anything. You love me and Emma the most? I lowered my head and let out a quiet, bitter laugh. You mean like when Emma waited 3 months for you to show up at her parent-teacher meeting, but you chose to take Elena to the park instead? Or when you left me at a restaurant for 6 hours on my birthday to go watch the sunrise with her, and came home at dawn with a bouquet of wilted roses? Or when I fell down the stairs and you ran to catch her, who pretended to trip, then watched me slam into the steps and still accused me of faking it? Or maybe when Emma had a fever so high she nearly died, and you still weren't there? By the time I finished, my eyes were rimmed red. I had told myself not to cry for him anymore. So why couldn't I stop the heat from rising in my eyes? Gabriel, you really do love us, so deeply. With each word I spoke, Gabriel's face paled a shade. Each sentence cut him like a blade, sharp and precise. He clenched his fists, lips parted, but couldn't find a single thing to say. And yet, I didn't feel victorious. There was no satisfaction, only a dull ache in my chest, because I knew those words had hurt me, too. Daddy, Emma's voice rang out faintly. We hadn't noticed when she woke up. Her tiny face was pale as she looked at Gabriel. Emma, how are you feeling? Gabriel rushed to her side, reaching for her hand, only to find it clenched tightly around a wrinkled piece of paper. It was the wish check Gabriel had given her when she turned 6. She'd been so excited, but never knew what to use it for. Should she ask him to take her to Disneyland? To come to school for her conference? Or maybe just read her a bedtime story? But none of those wishes ever came true, because Daddy always had endless calls to take. Elena was crying. Elena was sick. Elena wasn't in a good mood. So even now, sick in a hospital bed, Emma was still holding that check tightly in her hand. She moved her lips slightly, speaking softly. Daddy, can I use the wish now? Of course. Sweetie, anything you want, Daddy promises. Gabriel held her little hand tightly, eager and sincere. Then, can Daddy leave now? I don't want to see you. Gabriel froze. He blinked slowly, stunned into silence. What? I, too, stood in place, staring at Emma in disbelief. My wish is for you to leave. I don't want to see Mommy cry anymore. I don't want to hear you two fighting. I just want Mommy to be happy again. Please. Daddy, don't make her cry anymore. The blood drained from Gabriel's face. He stood still as stone by her bed, a statue, lifeless. And that tiny scrap of paper, so small and light, suddenly weighed heavier than a mountain on his chest. Okay, Daddy, we'll do what you say. Gabriel's voice cracked. He forced a smile onto his face and turned to leave, each step heavy and slow. I couldn't hold it in anymore, holding Emma close. Tears fell down my cheeks like rain. Chapter 8. Over the next few days, Gabriel canceled all his work and came to the hospital every day. He brought Emma the Lena Bell doll she'd always wanted, and blue roses, my favorite. He took off his suit, removed his watch, and cooked for me personally every day, my favorite dishes. It was as if he was trying to make up for all the years of neglect in just a few days. But he never once mentioned the divorce. Inside the room, Gabriel's gaze was full of hope. Emma, this is your favorite doll. I'm sorry. Daddy knows he was wrong. I swear I'll never hurt you or Mommy again. Can you forgive me, Emma? Emma didn't respond. She took the doll quietly, eyes downcast. Thank you, Daddy. Her indifference stung Gabriel like a slap. Still, he forced a gentle smile. Okay then. Rest now. Daddy will come back this afternoon. In the hallway, Gabriel shoved a steaming bowl of porridge into my hands. Seafood porridge, I made it myself. The fish and shrimp were flown in from South City. You have a weak stomach. This should help you feel better. The aroma curled up warmly. Suddenly, I remembered the night I had stomach pain after working overtime till midnight. Gabriel had stayed home making shrimp dumplings for Elena instead of even bothering to call someone to bring me medicine. A sharp pain pricked at my chest. I looked down at the bowl and tried to hand it back. Thanks. I'm not hungry. When you have time. Let's go, Anne. Gabriel's eyes reddened. He cut me off, voice trembling. Laura, if you want a divorce, you'll have to do it without me agreeing. He looked at me, his handsome features tinged with desperation. Laura, I know I've been a jerk. I messed up badly. But how can you be so heartless? Not even give me a single chance to fix things? Didn't you say you loved me more than anyone? I sighed, not wanting to argue anymore. I turned to leave, and ran into Jack. I felt a little awkward. I didn't know how much he'd heard. Jack glanced at the porridge in my hands, then at Gabriel, and smiled politely. Actually, I'm a bit hungry. Laura, would you mind if I had that? The cafeteria seems to be closed right now. His tone was perfectly courteous, yet carried just a trace of pitiful charm. Gabriel gritted his teeth. That's for my wife. What the hell makes you think? Here. I quickly shoved the bowl into Jack's arms, like tossing away a hot potato. Gabriel's face turned crimson with rage, but Jack just smiled calmly. I ignored the tension between them and walked away. Gabriel chased after me, voice filled with wounded frustration. Laura, how could you give something I made for you to another man? He must have forgotten. When Elena first moved back, he said she was frail, and my cooking was better. Asked me to make nourishing meals for her. She didn't eat scallions, didn't like garlic, had a sweet tooth, and preferred bland flavors. He listed everything so carefully, terrified I might overlook her preferences. But now I gave his food away to someone else, and he acted like it was betrayal. What a beautiful double standard. I let out a cold chuckle and didn't answer him. For 2 full months, Gabriel stuck around the hospital. During that time, Elena called him over and over, begging him to come back. But Gabriel didn't budge. Finally, Elena snapped. She showed up at his company, found his assistant, and sent him a video message. In the video, she looked pale and weak, face streaked with tears. Gabriel, I know I shouldn't have lied to you, but it's because you've always been so important to me. I loved you too much. I'm sorry. These days, I've been punishing myself. I want to apologize to you, and to Laura, in person. But my heart feels worse and worse. I think I'm dying. I'm not asking you to love me back. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to see you one last time. Will you come? Please, just come see me one last time. Gabriel looked away, fists clenching and unclenching. I sat peeling an apple for Emma, saying nothing. Silence thickened the room like fog. Then Gabriel gritted his teeth. Laura, wait for me. I didn't stop slicing, but the apple peel suddenly broke off in my hand. Before leaving, Gabriel tried to reassure me. This will be the last time I ever see her. I'll be back right after I handle it. All right. I nodded, smiled faintly, and shut the door. The days Gabriel was gone, I was constantly rushing between work and the hospital. So busy I barely ate. My stomach burned with pain. My vision swam. Before I even made it to the hospital entrance, everything went black and I collapsed. When I woke up, I was in Jack's office. He was sitting in front of me, watching closely. As soon as I stirred, he brought me a glass of water. I know you've been busy lately, but you still have to take care of yourself. I'll check in on Emma from now on. You just focus on work. His tone was natural, but there was a gentle warmth that felt out of place. I wasn't a naive girl. I knew exactly what he meant. Honestly, I had Jack to thank these days for helping take care of Emma, for giving me a sliver of breathing room. I hesitated for a moment, then said, Jack, as you can see, I just came out of a failed marriage. I'm not really in a place to think about that sort of thing right now. Jack looked away, a little embarrassed. I know, don't worry about it. I just, bang. The office door burst open. Gabriel stood there, windblown and furious. What the hell are you doing to my wife? Jack frowned. Mr. Jean, please close the door. Laura has a cold, she shouldn't be near drafts. Gabriel marched forward, placing himself between us. He smiled, tight and threatening. Thanks, but I'll take it from here. My wife doesn't need your concern. Jack let out a dry laugh. Funny, where was all this concern when you abandoned your wife and daughter for another woman? You've got the nerve to come back? I figured you were dead. You. Gabriel's face turned a stormy shade of gray. It looked like they were about to come to blows. I closed my eyes, exhausted, and said hoarsely, Gabriel, what's the point of all this denial? Let go. It's better for both of us. I won't. Gabriel's eyes turned red. He looked like a lost child. Laura, just give me time. I'll make everything right for you and Emma. Please believe me. No one will ever love you more than I do. A sharp snort cut through the tension. Jack glanced at his watch, smiling faintly. Ex-husband sure likes making bold claims. Hope he doesn't sprain his tongue. Gabriel glared at him, eyes sharp like knives. Just as he opened his mouth to retort, Jack stepped forward. Ex-husband, please leave. This is my private office. Don't make me call security. He gestured calmly toward the door. The words ex-husband laced with icy finality. Gabriel gritted his teeth, fury in his eyes burning a hole through Jack. But in the end, he held it in. Laura, wait for me. I'm not giving up. Jack's smile didn't falter, but the look in his eyes screamed, get lost. Chapter 9. After Gabriel came back, he never left our side. Every time I brought up divorce, he would choke up, beg, apologize, swear he had completely cut ties with Elena. I remained unmoved. If he wanted to drag this out, then I'd drag it out with him. On the day Emma was discharged, I took her to Disneyland as promised. Gabriel followed a few steps behind, never too close, never too far. It was the happiest day of Emma's life, but no one expected what happened after we left. I was holding Emma's hand and didn't notice the silver gray car speeding straight toward us. Watch out! Gabriel's eyes widened in horror. He dropped everything and lunged at us. Everything slowed down. I watched, helpless, as the car drew closer. In that split second, a black vehicle came out of nowhere and slammed into the silver car, knocking it off course. Bang! The screech of metal crashing split the air. Gabriel pushed Emma and me backward just in time, shielding us as we barely escaped the impact. But he was hit head-on and thrown into the grass, unconscious. Smoke poured from the silver car, and behind the wheel, was Elena, as the police dragged her away. Her face was full of sorrow, tinged with madness. We made a promise when we were kids. I was supposed to be your beautiful bride. Gabriel, you broke your word. How could your heart be so cruel? Jack stumbled out from another car, rushing toward me. Laura, are you okay? Before I could even speak, tears streamed down my face. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Hold on. 9/11. They're almost here. 3 days later, Gabriel woke up, and he agreed to the divorce. He lay in the hospital bed, pale, head bandaged, one leg suspended in a sling. When he saw me, he forced himself to sit up. We stared at each other in silence. Finally, Gabriel spoke, his voice rough and low. I'm sorry. I almost got you and Emma. He paused, struggling to suppress the lump in his throat. I know I messed up. I was selfish. Didn't want to let go. But now I realize all I bring you is danger and tears. I'm sorry. I won't hold you back anymore. I just want you to be safe. Let's get divorced. Outside, the sun was warm and bright. I suddenly thought of that afternoon in college. The first time he shyly asked me to be his girlfriend. His cheeks red. The sunlight back then had bathed him in gold, so radiant I couldn't look straight at him. From strangers to lovers, we had walked 16 years together. But even love sworn under the heavens could not escape becoming dust and scattered threads. I took a deep breath, pushing back the sting in my eyes. Okay, Monday, at the civil office. I'll be there. Gabriel's eyes reddened instantly, his voice trembling. Laura, can I hug you one last time? My steps faltered, but I didn't look back. Get some rest. Behind me, silence. Then, a muffled sob. Chapter 10. Jack showed up the day I received the divorce certificate. His arm was still in a sling. Every step tugged at the injury, and he winced with pain, but his eyes sparkled with barely contained joy. Congrats, Laura, you're officially free. I sighed. And you're officially running around when you're supposed to be resting. I said it like a complaint. But truthfully, I was deeply grateful to Jack. If he hadn't driven his car into Elena's, I don't dare imagine what might have happened to me and Emma. As for why he was there that day, we both understood. No need to say it. I didn't reject Jack's feelings, but I also couldn't throw myself into another relationship so soon. Jack seemed to read my mind. No pressure. I meant it when I said, I'm willing. All these years apart, not a day passed without regret. To be honest, I came to your wedding that day. That's when I realized my lack of expression had cost me the one thing I couldn't afford to lose. I won't lose you again. I raised my brows, surprised. Oh yeah, and what are you planning to do about it? Jack held up a book in his hand. The cover read, How to Be a Good Husband and Father. I rolled my eyes. Dream on. You want to be my kid's stepdad? Get in line. That's what I'm doing, isn't it? Working my way up. Jack's lips curved into a subtle smirk. I couldn't help but laugh. The trees on the street swayed in gentle green, and in the soft breeze of spring, I began again.